This episode is brought to you by Portland Distro. If you like underground music, movies, and more, go to portlanddistro.com for licensed merch, vinyl, CDs, and more. Plug in the discount code 10OFF, TENOFF, for a 10% discount at portlanddistro.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Everything Went Black podcast. My good friend Paul Aloisio from the band Restless joins us this week. It's a return visit from Paul. And because it's mid-October, the spooky season, we're going to talk about some spooky stuff. Specifically, our love for the film Near Dark, a classic. Paul and his band Restless Spirit have just released a killer record called AFTERIMAGE. We're going to be talking about that as well as their recent tour. Before we get going, I want to shout out my brothers in the Horsemen of the podcasting apocalypse. Starting the week off every other week, we have Brandon Legion bringing you Horror Wolf 666. Next up in the lineup, we have Jackie Smith, Into the Necrosphere. Midweek, Everything Went Black, which is this podcast. I returned the following day with Mike Scandato and Jeff Kashid for Necromaniacs. The week ends with Mike's brother John Draper bringing you Spitball Media. Saturday, you take off. And then Sunday, Carl Hikara brings us Soul Knox. He's been knocking out 2 episodes every week. And Carl and I have been doing these collaborative episodes called Darkness Weaves, where we cover the great work of Carl Edward Wagner. This month, we'll see the conclusion of the first part of our journey through Wagner's material. We'll be picking it up again with some of his other stories. And lurking out there in the shadows, Iblis Manifestations, brought to you by the great Cheyenne of Trivax. If you like this show, please share it with your friends. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. I still think our X stream is available somewhere. I don't actively post on it, but there's auto posting going on. So follow us there, if you will. And if you really, really believe in the show, please feel free to join our Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can join and support the show, get access to bonus material. For $5 a month, you can get access to the same bonus material, as well as early access to the regular stream shows. And for $25 a month, you can become a sponsor. That means if you have a business, a podcast, a project, a band, whatever it is, you send us the copy and we'll read it. And there you go. Speaking of Patreon, I'd like to welcome aboard T. Murray as our newest member. Thank you very much, and we hope that this is a fun-filled expression for you. Like, I'm so interested to hear about the tour and, the record and the response. It seems like people really are into the new album.
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. Like, the response has been just completely fucking awesome. And, overwhelmingly positive, which is good. As you know, as a musician, like, every time you put something into the world, there's always like maybe a little bit of doubt, like I don't know if people are gonna like this or not, but I can say with full confidence that when we put out After Image, like when I heard it back and I heard like the completed project, there was really none of that this time. Like when we put out Blood, I was sort of like, I don't know, I hope people are into this, and then they were, uh, and I was like, okay, so when it was time to record After Image and do that, I was just like, I'm doing this 100% our way. No compromises, no nothing. Like we're gonna get this perfect because I don't want to have any of those doubts or anxieties this time. Just because usually in my perspective, the doubts and stuff, it's usually because you'll hear something. At least for me, that's like, oh, I wish we did this differently. But we took so much time, which is funny because it really wasn't so much time. I mean, we recorded it very quickly and it was written in only 3 months, but I was very meticulous and I was like, we're getting it right this time because I want to go into this with like full confidence and I just want to make the absolute best record that we're capable of. And I mean, it really seemed to get across like the whole message behind the album. Um, you know, a lot of reviewers and even listeners have picked up on what I was trying to say. And to me, that's definitely the most important part because, when you're trying to say something with music and sometimes people are just like, oh, the riffs are awesome. And they don't really get into the message. Sometimes it's a little like disheartening, but
Sure. Yeah,
I don't,
absolutely. I totally relate to that. Definitely.
yeah, this time it's like, I think because I was so open and honest, especially in like doing press for it and even podcasts and stuff, and I kind of just laid it out all on the line, like, hey, this is what it's about. I don't want anyone to be mistaken. Like, there's a central theme, and I'm not hiding behind like a story, um, or any fictitious concepts. It's like this is raw, straight to the point, and I wrote it for the perspective of you know being hopeless and because I was going through a rough time as I told you and I was like if I don't get my shit together what's going to happen, so I wanted to like go down that dark path in the record, and to me like it ends on like a really bad note, like the message, it's sort of about
Right.
your vices just not learning your lesson, but um it was sort of like I just want to see what the other side would look like. And so I thought it was kind of a hopeless and almost like nihilistic record, but I'm amazed because I don't know if I mean I don't want to get like too big of a head or anything. And I hope this doesn't come across as like egotistical, but I know who I am and I know that I'm actually not a hopeless person, and I really believe in empathy and caring about other people and shit like that, like any normal human being. But
Yeah, of course.
a lot of the reviews were sort of saying, like I read this one that was like, you know, uh, the reviewer said, I can say with full confidence that this sentence has never been written in the history of the human language, but the third full length from Long Island doom metal band Restless Spirit has the potential to teach the listener radical empathy.
Ah,
And I
damn.
was like, that's pretty cool. And a lot of people were saying that they're hearing a lot of hope in it, and so maybe I was even wrong. Like, sometimes like you say something's about one thing, but it's like everybody latches on to one thing. If everybody else is like finding a little bit of hope or a positive message in it, then it's like, okay, maybe that's what happened. Because I also believe like once you put like a piece of music into the world and people, start consuming it and like latching onto it, I could say what it meant for me all I want, but it really becomes the listeners. And I truly believe that. So if people want to say it's hopeful and people want to say, there's like a light at the end of the tunnel through this music, then it's like that's what it is. I'm not going to debate that. And I think that's pretty cool that people are hearing something that I didn't intend for, but emotionally that's what I was hoping for, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense because a lot of times, like in some of my favorite, writing or music, the the darkness gives like a contrast for like the lighter parts to exist. You know what I mean? It's like and also the person writing the material, some of the bleakest material out there, when you actually meet the person, they're not that dark, nihilistic person. Like, for example, I've never met Thomas Ligotti, but John Padgett, who was on the podcast a few weeks ago, is like the kind of the curator of or is going to be the curator of keeping a lot of his work in print. And he's narrated a bunch of his material for Cadabra Records, and he knows him very well. And apparently, he's a very bright-tempered person. He's not this gloomy, dark, nihilistic guy. Just his output, his creative output, sort of navigates that world, so that in contrast, you can exist in the light as opposed to being in the dark all the time. And I think that might be what some people are experiencing when they listen to AFTERIMAGE.
Yeah, I mean, that very well could be, and I'd be very happy if that's the case, because I mean, like, even me, like, I'm not like a dark dude. I'm just a normal guy.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I mean, so the reaction has been awesome. I mean, everything about it, I'm over the moon. Some of the criticisms we've gotten, like some people aren't the biggest fan of the mastering and mixing, but I kind of expected that, because we sort of wanted it to just be very fucking dense, and just like a wall of sound. And I know that isn't for everybody, but that's what we wanted. So I'll even defend that part of it. Like, I didn't think it was going to be for everybody the way that it sounds. I mean, there's so much distortion on those guitars that it's barely even a guitar at that point. And dynamics were just thrown out the fucking window. I mean, like, Gus Mo was hitting those drums as hard as he fucking could on every single hit. I was playing as hard as I could. It's like, we went as hard as possible. And I got the mix back, and I was like, this feels like, a baseball bat to my skull, and I liked it. So
I can't believe people have a problem with that. I thought it sounded awesome, man. Like, I remember when you sent me listening tracks a while back before the album, was going to come out, and I was like, damn, this is like a Neurosis album or something, just so much density and just so much weight to it,
Yeah, it's like, like I said, I kind of expected it, because it is very dense, and I know that isn't to everybody's liking, but like, I don't know. If that's the one thing that you could find wrong with this album and you still love it, like, I'm cool with that, And
yeah, I hate people who review music, man. It's like such a worthless fucking vocation, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well,
okay, cool.
So
I'm gonna like review this record based on whatever meager like aptitude I have for music,
it's so subjective, and is even like, it's funny, because I saw one review where I don't really like to bother with reviews, because I agree with you, but
Yeah.
I was just curious, and someone brought it up to me, and I read it, and the people were sort of like debating it in the comments, and there were like 70 comments or something on this fucking article, and people were like, chill out, like, it's not even bad, you guys are being dramatic. And so that was really funny to me, seeing just like people come to our aid. It was like, oh, okay, cool, like, it's not a lost cause.
All in all,
And
how long did you guys spend in the studio? Because remember, I was out there, with for at least one evening. I was out there with you guys, and how long? It seemed like you guys are camped out there for a while. How long did you spend recording?
dude, it was such a blur, because we got up there, we set up drums, we did some drum stuff, and then we went home for a little bit. We sort of like had to segment it, and then we went up there again in November, did a little bit of work, and the closing date on my first house was like the day after. So I literally went to New Jersey, set up guitars, got some tones, did some scratch tracks, went home, closed on my house, slept there for one night, and then drove right back up to New Jersey and finished it up. And I think in total it was like I don't know, like around 2 weeks, and most of it was just work in the evening. So we would just be hanging out all day, like playing Nintendo 64. Because John Forrestal, who recorded it at the Animal Farm, he's a school teacher. So during the days, besides the weekends, we couldn't just be recording all day long. But if he was able to, it wouldn't have taken that long. So a lot of those 2 weeks was kind of just like hanging out and just like passing time. But it was really cool. And then I eventually we got pretty much everything done. And there were just a couple little things I wanted to do. So Forrestal gave me a microphone to bring home, and I did some harmonies at home and some DI tracks and some guitar parts, and then just sent it over to him, and he just reamped those. So all in all, I want to say like 2 weeks and change plus some work at home.
That's pretty good, man. I mean, that's really not a lot of time. I mean, that's like, I figure when you said a lot of time, I thought you guys would be there for like on and off for like maybe a couple of months or something like that. But that 2 weeks is like pretty quick, man, honestly.
Yeah, for us it's a lot of time because we just work so quickly. We go in so focused, like this is exactly what we want. Like I spend so much time demoing it, everything out at home. It's like
Yes.
by the time I'm ready for vocals, I've already done like 3 or 4 different melodies, and then I've already chosen the ones that I like. So it's sort of like, unless there's a genius idea in the studio, it's really not going to be changed because I've spent so much time going over all the different possibilities that my mind can come up with. Um, so it's really like we get in there and it's like I want to be as prepared as possible and just hammer it out. So we do have a lot of time to just like chill and have a good time and take in, the ambiance of wherever we're recording and make it more of an experience instead of just stress. Because when you go in not that prepared, it's fucking stressful, man.
Oh yeah, totally, man. I can relate to that for sure. But that's awesome. And that's the beauty of today with technology. One of the upsides, like there's a lot of really downsides to technology, but like the upside, if you're a creative person making music, is that you can make a real deal demo just with your laptop and like an interface and have everything planned out and pre-produced to the nth degree before you actually step foot into a studio. So everything can be like, all the bugs are worked out and you're just executing it. Once you get behind, once you're on the clock, you're just executing it.
Yeah, like if you listen to because I demoed out every single song besides the interlude, because I didn't really see a reason to do that. It was so simple. If you listen to the demos and then you listen to the finished product, like obviously the sound quality is way, way, way better because I don't know what I'm doing, like when it comes to recording at home.
Of course.
But it's pretty much exactly the same. Like maybe 1 or 2 things change, but it's almost exactly the same.
That's awesome, man. I mean, the record's great. I'm pumping it up to a lot of people. Everyone else in Tombs really digs it because we did that short tour last year, and we're all friends and everything, and we got that show coming up in a couple of weeks, and that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, dude, this is your first time on Long Island too, right?
We never
Like
played
playing?
ever. I mean, not Tombs has never played on the island, but I played out there in other bands. So yeah, this will be our first after I don't know however many 15 years or something like that doing the band. It's our first time out on the island, so it should be good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a good show. There's a decent amount of hype around the new record, and a lot of people really like Tombs. And all the bands on the bill are really good. Funeral Dancer, they're local, and I love that band. They're just like almost like midnight with more guitar harmonies.
Oh, cool.
They're really good. And then Blame God is like super grindy
Oh
and
yeah,
like
I know
really
that
fucking
band.
heavy.
I've
Yeah.
seen them. I've seen them play. I've seen them play out here in Jersey. Yeah, they played out. They recently, I mean, over the summer, they played out in Kearney with Reeking Aura and Replicant. I was at that show, and they're pretty tight. I thought they were really good.
Yeah, no, they're actually on our last record release. Funeral Dancer was too, 2 years ago, but it was sort of like we had a good time, and I thought the bill was pretty solid. And we don't always play together, So it was like, all right, if the record release is somewhat similar, that's fine, because it's like I want to play with my friends and bands that I really enjoy. And a lot of hardcore, a lot of Long Island is mainly hardcore, which is cool, but I didn't want it to just be like, 5 hardcore bands and then us.
Yeah, totally, man. That could go a lot of different ways.
Yeah. I mean, the hardcore kids definitely embrace us because this is where we came up. And I mean, I played in hardcore bands for a long time on Long Island, so it's like that's where our history is, and we get along just fine in that scene. But for our show, I definitely wanted to make it something cool, and that's why I was like, let me see if Tombs would do this, because like obviously I love your fucking band, and I wanted you guys to play the show, and I was like,
Dude, I appreciate
this
that. No, I'm glad you asked us, because it's we all got along so well on that tour, and we all were really excited to come out and celebrate the release of the record, man. That was just a really touching for you to ask us to play that. I thought that was great.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and for what it's worth, also I gotta say, almost every fucking person that got a hold of the record when we were on tour, and told me they listened to it, because we had the advanced copies. Almost everyone had 2 favorites. They liked Hell's Grasp a lot and Shadow Command, and they loved your guest vocal spot. And I was like, yes, it worked.
That was a lot of fun, man. I had a great time hanging out with you guys and like cutting vocals. It was fun, man. It's like I love those like no pressure situations where you just get to chill, hit a couple vocal lines and you're done. That's awesome. I have a lot of fun doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was awesome. We're literally just hanging out on a farm, making a metal record. Like, it's literally a farm.
Totally. Yeah. But now we got we're in the middle of the spooky season, man. And it's October. We got Halloween coming up, and the show is kind of a Halloween show if you think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to dress up, we won't say no.
Do you anticipate anybody coming in costume at that show?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, maybe if we tried to get everybody to, but it's kind of hard getting people to do silly stuff like that on the island.
Yeah, no, totally, man.
Whereas we're playing with so we're flying to Detroit Friday night, playing Acid Witch's Halloween show Saturday night. And then Sunday morning we're flying back to the island and playing our record release. But I know that like Acid Witch, that's like costumes encouraged, and their whole like thing is Halloween, obviously. So that like I know people are gonna dress up. Our show, I don't know. Like, I'm saying it right now. If you want to dress up, anybody listening, like, that'd be cool. It's almost Halloween. But
yeah, Acid Witch they have an interesting aesthetic. I mean, we played with them years ago out in the Netherlands at Roadburn Fest. I think either the first or second time we played, and I dug their whole like trip with the horror stuff, because you and I were both fans of that. Obviously everyone listening to this knows about Necromaniacs and our mutual love for horror films and horror fiction and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I appreciate Acid Witch.
Yeah, they're fucking great, and they're so overwhelmingly nice. Like, just seriously some of the nicest people I've ever encountered in my entire existence. And so that's always cool, because I always really liked Acid Witch. So same thing with like you guys. Like, I was always into Tombs, so I was like, when I met you, I was like, damn, I hope we get along. And obviously we did. But I think we're pretty easygoing guys, so we kind of get along with everybody. It's usually like the other bands that are sort of like some bands just like to keep to themselves, and that's cool. I respect that. But I'm very open shit, so I'm always hoping that everybody else is. And like you guys, Acid Witch, Black Tusk, Howling Giant, basically like all the bands we've toured with in the past 2 years we've all became like really, really good friends. And it's awesome because in the past we've done a lot of tours and shit, and it's like, you'd play with some bands and you'll see them every once in a while, but you don't really talk to them. But whatever's going on right now with like the bands we're playing with, it's like we're just making what feels like, and hopefully lifelong friends, because to me that's the whole point of like touring with other bands, not just bringing more people out. Like, you're in this together, like
yeah, I like I like when that happens too, man. But sometimes, like you were saying, you run into some cunts out there. It's
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you said it, but yeah,
yeah,
you're right. I mean, fucking, and like, so this was our first full US, and it was also the first time that we like just headlined anything substantial on our own, and it was cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, we had a great time. It was a great tour. But not having another band there besides we had another Magnetic Eye band called Witch Ripper out in the Pacific Northwest states, and it just made me realize like how much we missed being out with another band, because after that I was like, oh, back to just us. It's not that like we love hanging out with each other, like the three of us in both iterations, because like our drummer at home, Gusmo, he can't really tour anymore, so we have Apollo, who you met in
yeah.
I think it in what's it
Down
called,
in
in
Baltimore.
Maryland.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Baltimore.
yeah. So it's like we all get along. We're just like we're perfectly happy just sitting in a room, just like doing nothing and just like talking to each other and making like immature jokes. So it's like we don't like need that camaraderie because we all get along so well. But it's like, you know, on a shit day when the show sucks, at least you have another band that's like that was awful, but tomorrow it's going to be better. You know what I mean? And on the good times, it's like you have another band to celebrate with. Like, hey, that was awesome. We all killed it. Like, we did crazy on merch. So yeah, we definitely missed having a band come along with us. But with that said, we did pretty well for just us, and I'm definitely happy about that. But it's like it makes me appreciate even more, even that one Detroit show we're doing, the Acid Witch, or having you guys on our record release, and just seeing friends and that community that we're all cultivating.
Yeah, that's awesome, man, and that's cool that it went so well for you guys. 'Cause I was following you guys on Instagram, and I'm like, man, it looks like these guys are ripping out there. It's awesome. Any favorite parts of the country that you played?
I really love the Pacific Northwest. Like, I've been there before and I knew I was going to love it, so it wasn't like a surprise to me. I've been everywhere in the country, except, funnily enough, I don't think I've ever been to Maine. Um,
Really?
yeah, but I've been to every single other state besides Alaska.
Yeah, I've been to
Alaska,
it.
you, you've been to Alaska?
No, no, never, dude. That's like you need a reason to go up there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think Gusmo's brother is like stationed there for the army, so he he's been there, and he said it was just like dark when he went. But I mean, I've even been to Hawaii. Like, I've been everywhere. Well, I
Yeah.
guess Puerto Rico is the U.S., right? So that
Oh, it's a territory. They haven't
it's
made it.
territory. Okay, so then I won't count that because I haven't been there. So I'm just gonna say Maine and Alaska. But yeah, definitely the Pacific Northwest. Seattle was awesome, and that show we played is one of my favorites we've ever played. We played with The Well and this band called 1,000 Mods from Greece, and that show was just like fucking awesome. There were a lot of shows this tour where even if the crowd was really small, there were people specifically there for us, people that knew the words, people that have been wanting to see us for a long time. Sometimes you get booked at places and it's just sort of just like the bar band, and people are just like, when the fuck are they going to be done? Like this, they're so loud. But that did not happen one time. Like, even the small shows that we played, there were people there for us, and from a band that's been grinding for as long as we have, and really, only seeing returns in the past 2 years was extremely gratifying.
Killer, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
the Pacific
the
North.
Northwest is definitely a cool part of the country to play in for sure.
I mean, it's just so beautiful. Like, it's just incredible. It looks so old and like majestic and almost otherworldly, and I really really loved it. Um, and then of course, we saw a lot of the desert and New Mexico, and we checked out Roswell.
Oh yeah,
Um,
you got to do that when you go through that part of the country.
yeah, it was very kitschy, but it was like it was a very small town, and seemed like everyone really is latching on to the alien stuff. Like, there was an alien McDonald's, there was an alien hotel, there's an alien Dunkin' Donuts. So it was cool. It was fun. So I really liked Roswell. I don't know if it's a place that I'm itching to go back to. Um,
Yeah,
but
once is probably enough, I think, for Roswell.
yeah,
One and done, you're probably good.
yeah. But besides that, I mean, yeah, so Pacific Northwest is awesome. LA, actually, I've been to LA a couple times, and that was the first time. I don't know what we did differently, but I really enjoyed it this time, and I usually don't. But it was cool. We went to Amoeba and went and saw the Elliott Smith wall, which I'm a huge fan of Elliott Smith, so I try and do that every time I'm there. Just kind of hit the usual spots, and then checking out the Del Tacos and all the regional
Del
fast food
Taco, yeah,
places.
man.
Yeah.
I was
But
just talking about Del Taco actually. Just funny. Yeah, it came up in conversation, Del Taco, as like a regional chain. That's not too bad actually.
yeah, I mean, my band loves it. They go crazy for it. I mean, I think it's pretty good. I'm not that into fast food, period. So it's like
Yeah,
when we're on tour eating like shit, I'm like, I mean, besides McDonald's, I don't know what it is, but it's like it just reminds me of like being a kid. So any fast food besides that, I try and avoid. But if it's like, oh, you want to go to McDonald's, I'm probably gonna say yes.
yeah, I
Um,
don't fuck with it, man. I don't. Taco Cabana is another one out there too. You ever check that place out? It's like another kind of like fast food taco joint out there in like that part of the country. Del
nah,
Taco, Taco Cabana, and In and Out Burger. That's what I'll fuck with those places, and that's about
dude,
it.
In and Out is so good. In and Out, I love.
It is, but it isn't. You know what I'm trying to say, man? It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
No, totally.
it's yeah. There's something about it that's just kind of sick, But like the fries are terrible. That's the one thing I got to say about In and Out Burger.
So I actually disagree with you because
Really?
I'm the plainest eater in the world, and the In and Out fries literally just taste like you took a potato, you cut it up, you barely cooked it, and did not even attempt to season it. So I'm like fine with that, which is funny because
Okay.
I like when things are really plain, but I also really like flavorful foods, and like I love Indian food.
Right.
Yeah, and like a lot of different like cultural foods and stuff, especially stuff with like heavy amount of spices and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm always totally game for like the blandest, most like plainest shit in the world. I don't know. Sometimes it's just what I need. So those fries for me are fine because they're
Yeah, they're
barely French
definitely
fries.
bland. They're
Yeah.
definitely bland for sure. Yeah. All right, so we wanted to talk about Near Dark too, man, which is like we're in the Halloween mode, and Near Dark is one of the premier films I think from that era. So you're a little bit younger than me. So what is it about Near Dark that grabs you?
So Near Dark to me, I don't know if this is a little controversial,
Oh,
but I think Near Dark does a lot of things really, really great. But sometimes when I go back and revisit it, it seems like it could have been a little more cohesive, and that always bothers me. But
okay.
with that said, the parts that are great are amazing. Like Bill Paxton is amazing. Um, Lance Henriksen is amazing. And so, like, when I first saw it, I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was just going to be like a straight up vampire Western. And it's not really that. Like, you have a little bit of like the Western theme, but it's not really that. And then you have Bill Paxton, who's basically the most iconic character in the movie, who's almost got like a Sisters of Mercy type look and almost like a like proto punk vibe to it. So you get that aspect, and then you have the whole love aspect between the main characters, and sort of like this underlying theme of like, the blood could be seen as like an allegory for addiction and this and that. Um, so it just seems to me every time I rewatch it that there's a lot of things going on for it, but I never felt that it was like a masterpiece. It's great. I love it, but it just to me it always feels like a bunch of ideas that were thrown together, and I wish that a couple of them, at least visually, were a little more fleshed out or just focused on. Does that make sense?
No, I can see that. I get like that with some films too. And this one I can understand that about this movie too, because it's almost like it's more like the vibe of the movie is what I respond to, and the
Yeah.
story is like, yeah, same thing with Lost Boys too. Like Lost Boys, like narratively doesn't really hold up as well, but just it has such a killer vibe and like it just looks cool, you know?
Yeah, see, Lost Boys to me, that vibe is consistent the whole movie. Um, like you know exactly what you're getting into when you watch Lost Boys. And Near Dark, like I said, because you kind of got the Western part, you kind of got the proto punk visuals, and then you got like a very 80s soundtrack. Um, it's just, I don't think it's as cohesive. But with that said, it's a great movie. I think also part of it is that, like you said, the vibe to me stands out a lot more than the actual story. The story doesn't grip me as much as I would like it to. But then like it almost doesn't matter because you see Bill Paxton on screen and his whole performance that entire movie, and he just steals the show.
Yeah, Bill
And
Paxton and Lance Henriksen together are like, hooks, I think, for the movie, really. I mean, I don't even remember the main characters as much. I just remember those two characters.
well, that's my point exactly because while rewatching it, it's like I just rewatched it. I can't even remember the two main characters' names. And that says a lot about the movie, I think. But people forget about that because Bill Paxton is just so fucking awesome, and so is Lance Henriksen. The other thing that I don't know if this is controversial because I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I fucking hate the character of Homer, the little kid.
Yeah.
I
I feel
cannot
like I
stand
was
that
kind of I
character.
don't like him either, actually, man. I could agree with you on that.
So annoying. Like just every time I watch that movie, I forget about him, and I'm like, oh my god, why did they keep this character in the movie? But with all that said, like I really do like the movie. Like it's a great movie. Um, I just think that it got as popular as it did, or maybe its lasting power really is in because of Lance Henriksen, yeah, but mainly Bill Paxton and the visuals and his whole get up and his performance for sure. If anything, I would have liked to see him like the whole movie or as like the central big bad the entire time because he kind of is like he's like you could tell the whole time he's going to be an antagonist, but he's not like Sauron. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Or
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, but no, it's a great movie, really good. I just always think I like it a lot more than I actually do, and then I watch it, and I'm like, oh shit, these are my gripes with the film, but they're not gripes that I would be like, don't watch it, you know. Like I'm not trying to say that at all. Like as you could say criticizing it, I think I'm just nitpicking it because it's a great movie. But I'm just surprised every time I watch it because I forget that it's not in like my top 10 of all time. I forget that. And then I watch it. I'm like, oh, well, that's why.
Yeah, it's also an early Catherine Bigelow film too. I don't know if she's like went on obviously to become like with the Hurt Locker to become like a very prominent director. And she also co-wrote this one too.
Yeah, she did Zero Dark 30 as well.
Yep.
Um, she did a bunch of stuff and something. So I really like her commentary on the movie too because I have the Blu-ray and I always make sure that I watch that because there's I don't know if you ever have, but I like what she has to say about the movie, and she goes pretty deep into even her idea of almost like making it a western but not a western, and the whole like allegory for the vampirism as like more of like drug addiction and stuff like that. So it's like even sometimes I'll even hear her talking about it and the way that she like helped write it and directed it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so like I kind of am on the mark with what I'm saying about it because she's even saying it just in a different way. um But yeah, I mean, I think she did a great job directing that movie. Like stylistically, the it's fucking killer, dude. I mean, I can't say it enough about Bill Paxton, like everything about his character and the way they like every time he's on the screen, it was like, this is the reason this movie is not ever going to be forgotten about because Bill Paxton. And you could be a great actor, but if you don't have like a good director or someone like really, pulling the strings and making it into a cohesive, end product, it's like, you know, it's not going to have that great of lasting power. So
You ever see there's a film that I think it might have been one of her first directing gigs. There's a movie called The Loveless. You ever check that one out?
I don't think I've ever even heard of that.
And it came out like, I don't know, it's like early 80s maybe, and it's Willem Dafoe. It might even be one of his first roles. And it's just like this southern brooding kind of film. It's takes place in the 50s. It's all these greasers. It's a pretty dark film. It's definitely something to check out. You can find it out there, like streaming somewhere, I bet.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. I mean, you just say Willem Dafoe and I'm into it.
Yeah,
Especially like early.
You can't go wrong with him.
Yeah. And early Willem Dafoe I think is fucking awesome. I mean, he's an actor that also he every time you see him in a movie, you're going to get quality at least from him. It's like, and to go on a possibly a tangent, it's like I think that Willem Dafoe is a really great actor and he could like step into a role and be entirely convincing. And then I really like that about him, but there's some actors who I also really like where it's like they also give it 100%. Well, I would say 110% in this case, but it's you can never separate the actor from who he's trying to portray. And I bring this up because I just recently watched Renfield. Have you seen
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Did we talk
Yep.
about
Yeah.
this?
Nicolas Cage. Yep.
What did you think about it?
I actually enjoyed it. I didn't think I'd like it, because the trailers look just silly, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but I love Nicolas Cage, and I watched it one night and I thought it was actually really good.
I just watched it I don't know, like 2 or 3 days ago, and I was expecting not to like it that much, but I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. And the reason that I'm going on this tangent because uh, uh, Nicolas Cage is another actor that no matter what, he goes 110%. And sometimes it's really hard for you to not be like, oh, this is just Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage. Like even like The Wicker Man, that iconic the bees when it's just like completely over the top
Yeah.
and it's like you could like it's not convincing anyone, but he's really just like he's going super hard. I was fucking convinced that I was watching Count Dracula in this movie. I think he sold it and it was awesome. Even like in the beginning of Renfield when Dracula is like all decrepit and disgusting before he gains his full power back. I thought that was like gross and it was awesome. And it's very rare in this day and age to see a Nicolas Cage movie for me where I'm not like, oh, that's just Nicolas Cage. Like he sold me. He was Dracula in that movie. I thought it was awesome. Very cartoony, very
Yeah,
cartoony.
but I feel like he's the kind of guy like with the right director, like he does a great job. Like for example, in Mandy, right, when he had
Oh yeah,
Panos Cosmatos,
yeah.
him directing him in that film, he was awesome. He was great, and he became that character Red, and with the right director, and even going back to like Wild at Heart and stuff like that, or Leaving Las Vegas, like with the right director, he becomes more of the character, not just Nicolas Cage like riffing on a role. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think the key, and I could be wrong. I've never directed a movie, and I've certainly never directed Nicolas Cage. But I think the key to get Nicolas Cage to be as great as he's able to be is to just let him be Nicolas Cage. And I think in his very early career, he excelled at that. I definitely think that as time went on, like because he's definitely having like a resurgence now. I think everybody can agree on that, especially in the horror community with uh why am I blanking on this? It's an HP Lovecraft story
Oh, Color Out
called
of Space. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Color of Space, Mandy, um I think it was called Wally's Wonderland or something like that, where he just like beats the shit out of animatronics the whole movie and doesn't say a fucking word.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I wasn't even aware of that.
Dude, it was awesome. And
Check that out.
not even horror, but what the hell is that movie called where Nicolas Cage plays himself?
Oh, shit. I don't know. It's a good. I mean, yeah, you stumped me once again.
Uh, the Weight of Unbearable Talent or something like that.
Oh, wait. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's it came out like in the 90s or something like that, or early
No,
2000s.
it just came out.
Oh
The
shit. I
Weight.
have no idea then. I'm completely failing at this then. So I have no idea what movie you're talking about.
It's called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent
Oh
with
shit.
him and Pedro Pascal. You didn't hear about this movie?
Dude, I don't know how I didn't hear about it, but I didn't hear about it.
Oh
I
my
don't
god. It is
know.
it was fucking amazing. Like it was fucking amazing. Like Nicolas Cage just plays himself and it's just like he's just being batshit insane. And it's you have to see it. It's awesome. It's fucking awesome. I can't say enough good things about this movie. I just
My
love
my
watching.
my girlfriend says that she saw that. So what's the it's good? Okay. You recommend it? You think I would like it? Okay. All right, cool. So Tina saw it. So I'll probably eventually check it out too then.
Yeah, it's totally awesome. I mean, it's just he's just acting unhinged in it, and it's like I barely remember the story. I just like seeing him and Pedro Pascal act together, and especially Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage. Um, it's just it's fucking awesome. Oh, another movie. Uh, I don't know if you saw that I really liked that he was in. Pig.
Yeah,
Did you
that
see
one was
that?
really good. That was like definitely like a vibey, atmospheric kind of film. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Not a
he's
lot of
definitely
dialogue, just kind of like impressionistic in some ways.
yeah, no, for sure. I loved that movie. But I definitely think he's seeing sort of like a resurgence because for a while he was just seen as kind of like a joke. And I think that probably just had to do with I know he was taking a lot of roles and I think he like went bankrupt because he was like very rich and just like blew his money on really stupid shit. And so he was in like a lot of crappy movies, but he was still giving it like his all. And it obviously wasn't working because he was surrounded by just, inferiors, I guess you could say. Maybe that's mean, but he was in a lot of crappy movies, but he was still, Nicolas Cage doing his absolute best. And I'm happy to see him getting the respect that I think he deserves.
Yeah, me too, man. I mean, I think that like I only want to see good things happen to Nicolas Cage, and I'm glad that people are appreciating him more. He's getting better roles.
I mean, I think like Mandy is going to be a defining movie of this generation in, when people talk about, you know, whatever you call the 2020 period, the COVID generation, let's just say. I
Yeah.
mean, that movie just even like visually, that movie is absolutely astounding.
Well, it's interesting. The little little teaser here. I'm working on a book uh for like under the Necromaniac sort of moniker of the first new millennium, like horror in the new millennium. And it's kind of like, just like an accounting of some of the changes that have happened in the horror genre, like since the beginning of the 21st century up until 2025. So I've been writing little sections about different things, and there's a section on Panos Cosmatos' films and how different they are, and specifically Mandy. And I cite that as like being an iconic, a future icon as far as like films go.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I don't even know anyone that doesn't like that movie. Like, I don't think I've ever spoken to someone that does not like that movie that's into horror. I
It,
really
it
don't.
resonates on so many levels. Like there's like it's such an emotionally moving film too, you know, because it has to do with like loss, you know, and love and all that sort of stuff. But then it's like one of the most like metal like movies because of just how intense it is and just the visuals and like, you know, there's like those title breaks, you know, where it's like the Shadow Realm or whatever the hell the chapters are called, you know, and it's just like
Yeah.
it's like all the things like you can enjoy it just as like a someone who likes films, or you can enjoy it as someone who loves reading Conan, you know, and like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, and just dark stuff, you know, and it's just, or someone who likes action films, you know, it has something for everybody.
Yeah. No, totally. It great, great, great fucking movie. I don't even need
Yeah.
to recommend it to anybody because I'm sure everybody listening to this has seen it and most likely enjoyed it.
Have you seen another Catherine Bigelow film? Is Strange Days? Have you ever seen that one?
No.
It's like early. It came out in like the late '90s. It was like all around like the turn of the century, and like this kind of like cyberpunk you know, thing with like virtual reality and like murder, and Ray Fiennes was in it. It was like an early role for him. Juliette Lewis was in it. Tom Sizemore, the late great Tom Sizemore, was in it. And it's definitely, it's out there, man. And it's like a really cool film. And it's got a great soundtrack. Like that band Season to Risk is in it. And I don't know, it's really cool to check out.
Oh yeah, I'm looking it up right now. It looks pretty fucking cool. This definitely escaped my radar.
Yeah, no,
I did.
it's Catherine Big. For some reason, you know, she's a big name, but not too many people talk about that movie. You know.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30 were both they were both like massive successes, weren't they?
Yeah, they both were. Yeah, definitely, and like in like a respectable way, not like as like a genre, not like you know how some people denigrate like genre films. You know, it's like, well, yeah, it's a horror movie or it's a crime film, but those two movies were really like dramas, like that people who take things quote unquote seriously look at it as like quote unquote serious films, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, and people might look at, you know, Near Dark or Strange Days as like, oh, that's just like genre film, and then dismiss it or something. I don't, and I know
Yeah.
neither you or I do that, but some people would, you know.
Oh wow, she she also did Point Break. I'm seeing. I didn't know that.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's another classic.
That's awesome. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, man. So yeah, we're looking forward to the show coming up. We're practicing really hard. You
You
know,
better
having
not fuck up, dude.
we're not going to make mistakes. You know, we're like down in our practice space, like working on our little songs. You know, getting everything together. You know, and you know, you guys just coming off the road, so you guys are going to be nice and, you know, well tuned machine, and it should be a excellent evening of hard rock and heavy metal for everybody out in Long Island.
Dude, absolutely. Oh, and I also have another thing to say.
What's that?
To anybody that came out to the shows from this podcast or the Horror Wolf 666 podcast, like there were a bunch of you. So that was fucking awesome. And I'm sure I told you thank you there, but I'm saying thank you again because that was really cool to see. And I think
Oh,
I
dude,
did tell you that, Mike, right? Like a
my
bunch
pleasure,
of
man.
people came out.
Yeah, dude, my pleasure. I mean, you know, we're growing, man. You know, we got the Legion growing here. We got all our whole crew, man. The Horsemen. You know, we're out there, and we got people that, you know, that are into cool stuff, and it's my pleasure to like you know, help keep the energy going with everything. And I'm happy that people are listening. I'm happy that people are paying attention, and like I'm glad that in our whatever way that we can help bands like Restless Spirit, you know, reach other people. You know.
Yeah, it was totally awesome. I mean, there was one person, I don't know who you are because I don't think we got a chance to talk, but I also saw a Necromaniac shirt in Chicago. So that was pretty fucking cool too.
He's
Um,
probably an OG because those shirts have been long out of print, man, and we're overdue for another merch run at this point.
nice. Yeah, no, it's definitely cool. I saw a lot of people from the podcast. Well, I've never seen these people before, but I met a bunch of people that had listened to the podcast, and they were like, yeah, like I came because of this, or I heard Mike talk about it. And yeah, so that was pretty fucking awesome. So thank you to all those listeners.
Oh yeah, and that's that's the coolest thing about this stuff, man. It's like it's like we're a little crew, people. We just try to support each other,
Yeah, and thanks for having me on so much and letting me be a part of it in a small way. It's totally awesome.
You're no longer a guest. Now you're a known associate. You've like changed status here. Like you're a known associate, so you're not really a guest anymore.
Yeah, dude, I'm cool with that. There are a bunch of things I've been meaning to bring up to you that I think would be cool to talk about. So
hell yeah, man. Like you're a collaborator now. So let's get this all and out on the table and start doing shit.
I'm fucking down. Let's go.
All right, man. Well, I'll see you in a couple weeks, Paul. And
yeah,
we're looking forward to the show. And thanks everyone for listening.
Yep, I'll see you. And thanks for listening too.
Take care, bro. Bye.
Later.